Thank you. I'm going to put most of the participants on mute, just because in the beginning we have some opening introductory comments, and then of course it'll be highly interactive, so we can certainly take people off mute from there. So that being said, as I mentioned, those dialing in late, they should be able to get caught up very quickly. So I think we can just go ahead and jump in. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Priyanka, and I'll be moderating today's session. And I am so excited to welcome each of you to YJP's first ever national webinar on its new quarterly magazine publication, YJPerspectives. We'll kick off this session with the Navkar mantra. Namo Aryantanam, Namo Sudanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Uajayanam, Namo Loyasavanam, Esu Panchamukaro, Seltokanasmo, Mangalanam Chisavisin, Paramam Havai Mangalam. So here's the agenda for the evening. This is intended to be a very highly interactive session where, in addition to the many YJP members who we have on the line, we're incredibly fortunate to have the authors of the various articles and the interview you may have read on as well. So following some opening remarks, I'll turn the mic to all of you, our readers, to share your reactions or your questions on the content within our first issue. As you can see on the agenda, we'll start with Komal Mehta's article, Journey to the Top and Beyond, which recounts her recent Navanu Yatra experience. From there, we'll move on to discuss the concepts of voting with your resume and wallet with the authors Nikhil Bumb and Pankti Gala, followed by a discussion on the practice of fasting from a combined scientific and Jain perspective with Dr. Minal Mehta. And then from here, last but certainly not least, we'll take any questions for our Professional Spotlight Award winner, Kanika Patawari. Our Poetry Corner contributor, Preeti Shah, can no longer join us this evening, yet she shared some written remarks, and we can still discuss her piece together. And then finally, we'll conclude the session with an overview of ways that you can get involved with YJP's many exciting communications initiatives. So as for some housekeeping items, as we have nearly 50 participants on the line, I ask that all remain on mute when not speaking. If you have a question or a comment on our first issue of YJPerspectives to share within the group, there are multiple ways to raise this and to make sure that we're able to engage that and bring these comments into the forum. The first option is you can send a message through the WebEx chat. So I sent a test message to begin with, and it should be pretty easy to use. As a second option, you can text me at 215-385-4841. And then as a last option, you can also email communications@yjp.jana.org. So you can submit through any of these methods at any time during the session starting now. And if you'd like to remain anonymous regarding the comment or the question that you're raising, just put a note in your message and we'll be sure to respect that. So again, you can begin to submit as early as now, and I'll do my best to ensure that everyone's questions and comments are shared within this forum. And then finally, this goes without saying, but we do aim to create a safe environment for the sharing of all perspectives, and this will include some dissenting perspectives that you may or may not agree with as well. And so in an effort to ensure a positive and enriching experience for all, any participant may be muted and or removed for comments deemed inappropriate by the YJP Executive Board, who we have on the line this evening. So once again, you can start to submit comments on any of our articles now, and we'll move on into some brief opening remarks. So again, for those on the line who don't know me, my name is Priyanka Shah. I'm from Furlong, Pennsylvania. I'm a member of the Cherry Hill Jain, and I'm also the editor-in-chief for YJPerspectives, as well as the director of communications for YJP. In these roles, I'm really just one small part of the broader 2019 YJP Executive Board that's shown here. This is the first year where every board position has been filled, and as you can see, there happens to be a lot of new faces. New talent brings new and fresh ideas, such as the new magazine concept that we've come together to discuss today. If you were to look at the formal job description for my role as a communications director, you would see that I'm primarily tasked with giving the YJP organization a voice. I'm responsible for communicating our activities and initiatives through email and other mediums. Yet, when I was given this role, I personally wanted to leverage this opportunity to give our community a voice as well. This desire essentially fueled the conceptualization and launch of YJPerspectives, a platform where both writers and readers can share their personal perspectives on issues that should and do matter to young professionals just like us. YJP is simply overwhelmed and humbled by the positive response to our first inaugural issue. We strive to convey content that aims to educate, to inspire, and to entertain readers like you. And I truly believe that the sharing of our perspectives, both through this magazine as well as through today's webinar, will benefit our community in several ways. It should help us advance the way that we think. It should help us drive action in line with our Jain principles. And it should help to promote overall greater community involvement and participation. Our magazine is distributed digitally and in print to over 3,000 members and friends of the Jain community. And to my surprise, it's reached 15 countries internationally, with confirmed readers who have actually opened and read our publication in the US, Canada, India, Australia, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands, Dubai, Oman, Singapore, Japan, South Africa, Brazil, and Paraguay. On behalf of the YJP Executive Board, I'd like to thank each and every one of our readers like you for giving our new publication a chance and taking the time to read. Bringing this new magazine to life was certainly a collaborative effort, and I'd like to take a moment to sincerely thank all on this slide, including YJA, Jaina, YJP advisors and leaders, our authors who we have on the line today, and my personal family and friends for their unwavering support throughout this journey. Young Jain professionals represent a segment of the Western Jain population that hasn't been served by a magazine like this before, and YJP is deeply grateful and appreciative of the support and experience pointers that have been provided to us throughout the making of this first issue from several groups. This includes current and past YJA board members, and in particular, Priyanka Shah, current editor of YJA's Distinguished Young Minds magazine, Sharmi Bakaria, Monica Jain, Sanjana Shah, Parag Parikh, and Mitesh Shah, as well as our counterparts in Jaina, which include Mahesh Wadhar, Dilip Parikh, and Jayana Shah of the Jain Digest editorial team, and Pravin Shah, as well as Raj Sheela of the Jaina Education Committee. Beyond this, our first issue can only be as good as its content, and YJP was truly honored to receive submissions from such diverse and accomplished content contributors, the authors who will be speaking today. And again, thanks to all, and thanks to all for listening through. At this point, we'll switch gears to the more interactive portion of our session, starting with Komal Mehta.
Hi, I'm Komal Mehta. Just a quick background on myself. I'm 24. I live in Jersey. I have also been a member of the Neighborhood Jain Sun. I've been on the podcast for about 10 years. I just recently graduated from Drexel with a BS and MS in biomedical engineering. I have a side business called Communications where I do event decor. And in my free time, I like to paint, watch movies, watch photo, and love swimming cookies. So I'm excited to hear what you guys think of my piece. And I'd also like to take this time to thank the YJP committee and Priyanka for letting me write this piece and kind of introduce a new topic to the Young Jains of America and Young Jain Professional Committee.
Very good. So Komal, thanks for that introduction. From here, as I mentioned, really hoping for this to be a highly interactive session and making sure that there's a lot of time and ample time for people to kind of raise their questions and share their reactions. So that being said, if someone has a question or a comment, feel free to share it through the chat window. Feel free to text it to me or also email it to me. If you forgot the number or the email address, it's 215-385-4841 or communications@yjp.jaina.org. Yeah, so Komal, while we're waiting for the first question to come through, maybe we can take a couple minutes to just kind of educate everyone on the experience that you had. And so I know when you first came to me with my topic, the first kind of reaction I had was, it's one thing to to kind of live life and be juggling so many things, you know, from your profession to your family, to your friends, to your spiritual development. And it's another thing to kind of focus on just one of those elements full time. And I think that's exactly what you did through your Navani Yatra experience. So maybe while we're waiting for everyone to think about their questions and share, if you want to explain to everyone what a Navani Yatra actually is, and maybe just a comment on kind of what inspired you to share your story with everyone. That'll give everyone some time to get a little adjusted to the WebEx.
Yeah, absolutely. So Navani Yatra is basically a religious pilgrimage that's taken place on Chhatrapati and Yeshua Bharisana. And so what it consists of is following the steps of Bhagavan Adeshwar, who climbed Bharisana 99 times. And back then, it's 99 Purva times, so technically it's in the billions if you count what the math is. I don't actually know the specific math, but it was a lot of times that he climbed it. And so basically people nowadays go up this mountain 99 times. And going up one way is about 3,750 steps, and there's the thereafter at the top. And so you basically go up and down this 99 times. You start with 1 a day, then you start growing to 2 a day, 3 a day, and then by the time my legs got trained to it, I was actually doing 4 a day. So along with just climbing, there's also rituals that you need to do. So there's 5 different areas where you actually have to do Jainism. So you have to do 5 Jainism for 1 jatra. So if I do 4 jatras in 1 day, that means I have to do 20 Jainism. Along with this, you also do Ekashnas every single day that you do this. You usually don't get time to do anything else. You don't get time to do Vyasnas. You're only eating once a day. You do Chovyar. A lot of the people in the Pankti also do Pratikam morning and night. There's a lot associated with it, other than just climbing up and down the mountain. It's definitely a spiritual and religious experience overall. But what made me want to do it is my parents had planned to do it for their 25th anniversary, and I was right around the time where I was graduating. I didn't have a job lined up yet, and my future was kind of open. So I kind of took a leap of faith, literally, and I went with my parents, and I decided to do it, and it was the best experience of my life in hindsight. And I have no words to describe how amazing the feeling was to come back and feel so accomplished.
Well, that's incredible, and really incredible to hear it from you firsthand. So I'll just pause and comment, Komal, that there's some feedback from the line, that there's a little bit of static in your mic. I'm not sure if you're able to do anything about it, but I know from my end, I could hear the static to still make out your story. So I just thought I'd pass it on to you. So we have our first question, or our first comment from the audience. It's from Urban Parikh, who I just took off mute. So Urban, if you want to jump in, hopefully we'll be able to hear you this time.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka, for providing this forum, and thank you to all the writers for sharing their stories. Komal, so I really found that the takeaways that you have, on the second page, at the conclusion of your trip, I found that to be pretty profound, and in a sense, I guess I'll back up. I actually went to Balitana myself this past December. And I climbed up twice. I went once, with my whole entire extended family. It was kind of a family trip. So it was my grandmother's wish to go with all the grandkids. So we went up one day, and then the next morning we got up at 4:30 in the morning, and I went with just my cousins because, not particularly for spiritual reasons, but just to catch the sunset and observe all of the devotees going up, early in the morning and just, feeling that energy. So, so I went myself this past December, and I noticed a lot of the same things that you did. I saw the porters fighting with each other on the steps, for clients. When we were up at the top, people were yelling and pushing in the temple. And, I wouldn't say I was appalled, but I was pretty shocked by that kind of behavior. And it kind of stood out, very distinctly from what I expected I guess, like, the vibe to be. I thought it might be very peaceful. People would be, like, lost in penance or prayer. So I was kind of shocked, and I wasn't really sure what to make of it. But, yeah, going back to the earlier point, I really thought that your takeaway about finding peace in the chaos was really profound in how you connected it to daily life, and in a wider sense, you know, the way Jainism has been practiced for so long, and the intent behind it is to kind of find, you know, the calm in the storm, and find peace for yourself, and, you know, like, if you're going to take it further, like, disconnect from everything and whatnot. So I felt like this kind of was the piece that completed my trip, you know, 3 months later, just because I have a better understanding of perhaps what the greater point of all of it is. You know, I saw the people doing Navanu Yatra over there. I'm not sure if it's the same thing, but there were also a group of people who would bow and on each step. So all, you know, 3,000 or 5,000 steps, I don't recall how many there were. They would bow down on each one, and you know, I wasn't sure what to make of it. But that deep level of dedication and penance makes sense now, following reading your piece and, like, what you got out of it. So, you know, I just really wanted to thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I'm sure it was probably, I was there in December too, so I'm sure we probably were there at the same time. But yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that really opened me up. And I'm kind of the same way as you. Like, my first 4 jatras, I was just in shock, just like seeing people arguing and fighting. And I was like, this is not what Jainism is about. Like, the biggest principle is ahimsa, non-violence. Like, why are people fighting? But it took me 67 jatras to figure out that, okay, this is my test. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be looking for my peace. I'm supposed to find solace within this chaos. But I think another thing that I learned from being there is it's also the way that people are brought up. Whereas, you know, going as an NRI, going to India and experiencing this, I feel like we've also been brought up in a place of calmness and serenity, whereas their norm is chaos. I mean, if you just go to Bombay and you know, drive in a rickshaw, that's just how people are there. That's kind of what they're used to. That's their norm. And so I think when I was talking to, like, my family and I was telling them that this is kind of ridiculous, they said that this is what they experience every day. And so when people are acting like this, they don't think it's anything more than just, oh, I'm just being my normal self on a daily basis. So I think that's also the other dichotomy that I saw for, like, America versus India. So it's definitely different for an NRI to go and do this versus someone who is there going to do this.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree.
Yeah, really great kind of overview of what the experience was like firsthand, because sometimes what we think it is versus how we see it explained versus what it actually is, you know, this is definitely perspective that we can only get from someone who's gone in and done it themselves. So again, Irfan, you know, thanks for sharing your feedback and kind of digging a little deeper into getting a sense of what the experience actually looked like in person. So that being said, if it's okay with you, we're going to move over to the next question that we just got. The next question is from Paras Kandaria, and Paras, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, so Komal, I read the article. I really liked it. My main question was if you have examples for how this experience has affected your professional life, if there's any examples you can give us, and then if there's any teaching points from your experience that might be helpful to the rest of us going forward.
I kind of missed the beginning part of it. There was some interference with the mic. Could you repeat your question one more time?
Yeah, sure. So basically my question was that if you have any examples of how this experience has affected your professional life, and then if there's any teaching points from this experience that you could try to offer the rest of us.
Okay, that's a great question. I think the biggest takeaway for me for professional life is definitely finding the calm within the the storm, which I know I talked about in my article, but it kind of goes beyond just kind of prioritizing your agenda in your professional life. Because now, you know, right now I'm applying to jobs, right? And I'm in the process of like constantly, I'm basically pushed back a year because I kind of took this year gap off and did this marijuana experience. And now I'm in this world of myself where I'm getting very frustrated because I'm not getting jobs, I'm not getting interviews, and I'm getting frustrated with myself. And so one of the other big things that I'm taking away from marijuana is taking a step back and realizing that there is a much bigger picture here, and sometimes we get super involved with one small little detail or like one little thing. Like sometimes I would go on these yatras and I would see one person and I would just focus on, why are you fighting with these people? Why are you doing that? When they weren't my focus of the whole day, you know? Sometimes I would go, I would see that, and it would ruin my whole day for me when I just needed to take a step back and kind of realize that, okay, they are one part of the puzzle, but there's a lot more to this day, a lot more that I've learned. And I think that's another takeaway that I've brought back with me, is just to take a step back, take a breath, and it seems a lot harder than it is said, but it definitely works. Just another thing that also really helped is reciting Nilkar mantra. I mean, when I was up there and I was getting smushed in between people, I would calmly just say Nilkar mantra to myself, and for some reason I just found peace in that. So it doesn't have to be Nilkar mantra, it could just be like a mantra that you have in your head, just something that you feel connected to. But just saying that over and over and putting that focus into it kind of helps bring me back to, okay, everything's okay, take a step back, just breathe, everything's going to be okay. So I don't know if I answered that. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that was a really great question. And Komal, you know, really great job in kind of sharing your view on such a loaded question. So that being said, you know, we're going to move on to the next one. So the next question is from Sunny Jain. Sunny, I'm going to take you off mute. We'll see if this goes through. You're going to try to ask your question, and if not, I can recite it for you because I have it in chat as well.
Hi, Jason and Komal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. It's a little bit of interference, but I can hear you. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, just firstly, I would just want to say, you know, thank you for sharing your story. It's, you know, so inspiring, and I can only imagine how, like, transformational this experience was. I know for myself, I did, like, 3 days of fasting, and, like, during producing, and that alone was, like, such a big deal for me, you know, and I was complaining the whole time. So I can only imagine how, like, incredible this was. So, yeah, thank you for that. My question for you was, during this journey, did you ever have any doubts or, like, second-guess yourself?
Oh my God, all the time. Literally, one day I would be like, all right, let's do this. I'm going to do 2 jatras today. I'm going to do 3 jatras today. And the next day I would just be like, why am I doing this? I want to go home. Buy me a plane ticket. I don't want to be here. And I think that whole, like, I went through a lot of ups and downs. And it was a lot more with my experiences with people and not even with Bhagwan or even my religious experience at all. It was more like I was getting so frustrated about the people there. Like, I have so many stories of the time that I was in the main Adeshwar Dada Derasar, in the main Derasar, and people were fighting to the point where I was getting pushed and slammed to the side. And obviously, like, I'm a human being. I'm getting shoved to the side. I'm going to be pretty upset about it. So there were so many times where I had experiences like that where I was just like, I am done. I want to go home. Mom, Dad, buy me a plane ticket. I, like, don't want to be here anymore. But through those ups and downs, I kind of realized that, you know, there was a reason that I was supposed to come here. There's a reason that I didn't get any job interviews right away. I was supposed to come here. I was supposed to experience these ups and downs because I had to find the light at the end of the tunnel, as cliche as that sounds. It's true. So I definitely had a lot of doubts. So yeah.
Very good. Yeah, so really appreciate, just the realness in your answer there, Komal. And again, great question from Sunny. There's no more comments on that one. We did get one more question that I think we covered previously. I'll just keep the line open for another minute or so. If there's any more questions or comments for Komal, again, you can send it through chat, you can text me, or you can email me. And while we're waiting to see if there's anything else out there, Komal, maybe if you could just comment kind of in retrospect, if you had to make the decision again, would you do it again? And then also looking forward, now that you've done it once, do you think you would do it a second time?
Yeah. So I didn't actually realize, when I was writing this piece, I kind of realized how amazing it was, but I realized it in hindsight. So while I was there and I was experiencing all of this, I had these ups and downs, I had a lot of doubts, but there were also points where I was like, all right, I'm at 80, I want to be done. Where's 99? Is it coming? Let's do 5 tomorrow and just be done with it. But once I left, and I went back to, we were there, so we were visiting family, so I went to Ahmedabad, I went to Bombay, and I went back to see the chaos and just like running around every single day, where I realized in hindsight how peaceful and how quiet and how serene Bali Dana really was. So I didn't, realize it right away, which is one thing that I kind of regret, is I didn't take in as much of the moment as I wish I could have. So yeah, I would love to go do this again. And I would love to take the experiences and the lessons that I've learned from the first one and go back and actually apply it to this one. It was 67 in when I actually started realizing this is all mental, it's not physical at all. So yeah, I'd love to go do it again.
Excellent. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing, and certainly an inspiration to all of us. So let's see who's next. So just in closing, Komal wanted to again personally congratulate you for kind of achieving this milestone in your spiritual journey, and again thanking you for sharing your story, not just through our magazine, but then also on this webinar this evening. So if there's more questions for Komal, you're welcome to text me or email me after this, and we can work with Komal to get the responses out. But I think from here we're gonna switch gears and flip over to the next topic, just to make sure that we will cover all of them. So that being said, we're going to discuss two articles together, the concepts of voting with your resume and wallet. So from here, I'll turn it over to Nikhil to introduce himself, and then Pankti. And as they're introducing themselves, again, if you have any questions for either, feel free to start sending it in, either by chat or to me by phone, 215-385-4841, or email communications@yjp.jaina.org. So Nikhil, you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Great to hear you all and to be on this call together. Thank you, Priyanka, for making the space for this. So my name is Nikhil Bumb. I grew up in South Carolina, where we didn't have a huge Jain community, but we did have a small one that was close-knit together. And then I've been sort of up and down the East Coast since then. I studied engineering, went into life science consulting, and then sort of at business school made the switch into thinking about the hybrid space between what role can businesses play in doing social impact and creating social change, and I've been focusing on that for the past 7-ish years. So I'll keep it brief there and turn it over to Pankti.
Thanks, Nikhil. Hi, everyone. My name is Pankti Gala. I am originally from the Philadelphia area. Grew up with Priyanka and Komal, actually, so also part of the Cherry Hill Jain song, went through that Patshala. I now live in Baltimore. And yeah, I mean, huge Jain presence in my life. Both my parents are Jain, as I mentioned, Patshala, so yeah.
Okay, very good. So we haven't, oh, you know what? I think we do have one question. So this question is from Sunny again. Sunny, I'll take you off mute. Do you want to ask your question while we wait for others?
Yeah, JD Mundra, firstly, I wanted to say that I was a huge fan of both of your articles. You know, I think that there's a lot of it that was very applicable to like our real life. You know, for Pankti, you know, I really like that you talked about cruelty-free products. I know for me personally, it wasn't something I ever thought about until I turned vegan. And then similar to you, I kind of like started thinking about, you know, how can I apply these principles outside of just dieting, so like just food, right? And so, you know, I appreciate that, you know, you had like, you know, various brands. And, you know, just to make a comment, you know, even for guys, you know, there's a lot of like products like hair gel or like toothpaste or deodorant or cologne. There's like so many ways, like, you know, alternatives that are cruelty free. And, you know, I personally use like this app called Cruelty Cutter. So you pretty much like just scan the barcode and it'll tell you right away, like it'll turn green if it's cruelty free and it'll turn red if it's not. And so that's like how I personally have been able to apply, I guess, cruelty free products in my life. And so, yeah, I just wanted to give both of y'all props for everything. And then for Nikhil, you know, incorporating Jainism into the workplace is, I think, such a big thing. You know, I think growing up, we've grown up with, you know, Indira Fair and Bachal and all that. And then, you know, as soon as you enter the real world, you know, it's really up to you to decide how you're going to incorporate Jain values, right? And so I think you did a great job in, you know, touching on, you know, how you applied in your personal, you know, career and how, you know, how others can do the same. So.
Cool. Thanks, Sunny.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Okay, so we have one question that's come in anonymously, and I think I can broaden it a little bit to both of you. And I think the question is along the lines of just kind of cost, right? You know, we talk about voting with our resume, making decisions that are in line with our values, which may or may not be the most affluent position or, you know, the most highest salary, and then same voting with your wallet. Sometimes the products are not necessarily the cheapest out there. And so the question to both of you is there a price or is there kind of a cost where you kind of deviate from this concept, and how do you kind of rationalize that in your mind?
Pankti, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to think of an answer to this question. So I guess a lot of the products are not, if you think about it, they're not necessarily, and I'm not sure if this question came from a male or a female, but the makeup products that I mentioned, yeah, those are going to be unfortunately high end. I haven't found really any cruelty-free makeup products that are, you know, drugstore prices. However, the brands I mentioned, like Seventh Generation, Mrs. Meyer's, those brands are available in bulk at places like Costco and Walmart. And so I think even though they are more expensive than your shelf brand, they are not ridiculously more expensive than your shelf brand. And I think it's a decision that as a Jain and as a professional that you have to make for yourself, kind of where you're willing to draw that line. For me personally, there isn't a line. I do use all cruelty-free products also for the purpose that they're chemical-free, they're good for the environment, they're good for my body, etc. But I think at the end of the day, it is a personal choice where that line is drawn.
Yeah, I would say something similar, and that you know, there is a cost. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but I think that what that cost is and how much it weighs depends a lot on your personal choices. So for me, you know, when I switched from sort of like a big management consulting firm to a you know, smaller niche firm that was fully focused in this space, I took about a 30% pay cut, and that was a conscious choice to make, knowing also that there were other things that that I was going to be gaining from that in terms of, you know, alignment to my values, you know, personal, I guess, job satisfaction and things that perhaps, you know, there is still a value associated with them, but they may not be as evident, say, like, and a cost or a price tag associated with them, but it may not be as evident in, say, your bank account right away. But there is a lot of other value that I derived from that. And so I think it does, you know, similar to Pankti, I think it depends a lot on your personal value system, and you have to make that decision for yourself. I think, there's other ways of looking at it too. Does voting with your resume always mean you have to take a pay cut? I don't think so. I think there are ways to do this in your, current workspaces or, still in pretty lucrative job positions to do this as well. I obviously think a lot about this and work with a lot of corporations in creating spaces to do this more effectively with their employees and offer that opportunity and integrate it more into their businesses. So there are ways to do that, and I also think that the other flip side of it is kind of making that decision for yourself as to what are the things that are important and where are there costs associated with each of those. So are you losing some sort of mental peace, or for me, I was losing a lot of mental peace about some of the things that I was observing at my prior workplace that just didn't sit right with me because they didn't agree with my value system, and so there was a high cost associated with that for me that was worth it. And in the end, it's a matter of a privilege, right? So if you are in a position, I'm lucky that I was in a position where, even with a pay cut, I was making enough to feel that I was going by and just fine, then you can make those choices. And sometimes you can't. And let's be honest about that, because we all have different obligations and commitments. But yeah, I think it comes down to a very personal judgment on where your line is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think two great responses and fair responses for kind of the question like this. So we don't have any more questions through the text or the chat right now. I'll leave the line open and just give everyone a chance to speak. I've also unmuted most. So if you just want to speak up and ask or share a comment on the discussion we just had, feel free.
Hi, this is Paris. I don't really have a question for Nikhil and Pankti, but I did have a comment, and I think this is really topical articles because there's been a recent.
I'm sorry, whoever's talking right now, I can't hear you at all.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Paris. Can you hear me?
Barely, but yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, so basically, I was just going to say that I thought the articles were very topical because there's been a movement recently towards like ethical and cruelty-free investing for people who are trying to make management and so invest their money. And I think this kind of goes hand in hand with voting with your resume and with your wallet is also voting with companies you choose to invest in and build in. And I think companies will try to move in this direction going forward as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I think there's a lot of, I would call it upwards movement in terms of ethicality and values and cruelty-free, sustainable, environmentally friendly products, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, so many ways to kind of vote in different aspects of our life, especially aspects that kind of touch money and decisions and that sort of thing. So I guess in closing, I'll leave the line open in case there's one more question or one more comment that comes through. But I guess I'll just ask a closing comment to both of you, to Nikhil and to Pankti. I think it's really remarkable and really incredible that you've made these decisions for yourself. And are really making value-driven decisions for yourself. And not only are you doing that, but you're also advocating, to help others do the same. And so I guess I just ask both of you in terms of the advocacy aspect, which can sometimes be which can sometimes be more impactful, if not as impactful as what you're doing for yourself. Outside of writing for YJPerspectives, do either of you kind of contribute to other types of avenues and forums to help encourage others to make these types of value-aligned choices?
Nikhil, do you have any input? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I can go first. Yes, I hesitate with that. So I don't necessarily advocate in as strong of a manner as I did in this article about making career choices about this. But I guess part of my job and in prior
roles, I have advocated for how to apply sort of like principles into your daily life, or how to think about, you know, I guess we do a fair bit of writing in my work around how companies can think about integrating this stuff more directly in it, and thinking about being, we had a big publication around being the change with, you know, how to live internally within your organizations to the change that you want to see in the world. So it's not quite as much as like personal advocacy, but yeah, I do a little bit of that, and also used to write for the Huffington Post. You know, have done some there.
Yeah, I think I don't do any particular advocacy work. I mean, I'll you know, talk to friends about it, and kind of, if people are interested in talking about it, I am an open book in talking about how I vote with my wallet and live a cruelty-free lifestyle. But I think I've always been the type of person to not kind of push my own ideas on people who might not necessarily want to hear them. So I'm not, you know, a social media advocate or anything like that. But that being said, definitely open to talk if someone is looking to start voting with their wallet and thinking more, buying more environmentally friendly products and cruelty-free products.
Very good. Yeah. So again, you know, thank you both for sharing your stories. Hopefully this gave you a channel to advocate, you know, within our community, and clearly you're making really great decisions for yourselves as well. So again, thanks for sharing your story, not just, you know, for your participation. That being said, I think we've kind of covered the questions that came through from Nikhil and Pankti. So again, thank you both. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to the next article. Unfortunately, Dr. Minal Mehta had a last-minute conflict. So we're going to move this to the end of the conversation in the event that she's able to join. So now we'll skip over to the next one. And then Preeti Shah also had an emergency and wasn't able to make it, but she did share some comments. But for who is on the line is Kanika Patawari. So Kanika is the winner of the YJP Professional Spotlight Award for this quarter. So Kanika, congratulations, and I'll turn it over to you if you want to share a few words about your background and kind of highlight some of the points that you made in our interview together.
Sure. Hey. Hi, everyone. I'm Kanika. I first of all want to say a big thank you to the YJP board for choosing me and for honoring me to be your professional spotlight in your first magazine edition. I think it's very special to me, and it's really awesome to be honored by my own community. And I was actually born and raised in Belgium, which is why you probably have a lot of hits from Belgium for this magazine. And I found myself coming to the U.S. to study music at Berklee College of Music in Boston. And I've been in the U.S. since then. I work between Los Angeles, Belgium, and India. And professionally, I do a few different things. I consider myself a music creator. I released my first single 2 months ago and working on my next one next month. And I go to India because I'm building a recording studio space over there. The idea is to nurture and grow artists over there, as well as be the bridge between musicians here in America and Europe and bring them to India. And lastly, my family, they work very closely in the recycling industry for the past 30 years, which ties into a lot of my Jain background, which I've explained in the article. And it's exciting, it's interesting because we're trying to raise awareness for recycling using the music industry. So we think music is a very powerful tool to send messages, to send, to encourage the masses to actually do something about a certain topic. So we want to use that to encourage people to take care of our planet and our environment more. So that's kind of what my spotlight is about. And I believe I'm starting out on all of these projects. I believe I'm still in the early stages. There's still lots more to be done, but still very honored to be spotlighted on this edition. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so Kanika, thanks for sharing that overview. And again, thank you for kind of agreeing to be interviewed and be part of our magazine. We're always looking for professionals with interesting backgrounds and professionals who really go out of their way to incorporate Jainism into the projects and the areas that they pursue. So again, we felt you were a perfect fit and are glad that you kind of accepted our offer. So that being said, I hope Kanika's great introduction gave everyone a few ideas, or I guess a few minutes to think about questions and areas that you'd like to further explore. So I'll turn it over to the group. If anyone has a question or a comment for Kanika, feel free to speak up. I think most of you are off of mute. And then you can also send a question either through the chat window or through text. Okay, so while we're waiting for the question to come through, Kanika, since this is Young Jain Professionals and an organization that's really kind of out there to help Jain professionals network with each other for a variety of reasons and objectives. You can go a little deeper into something we went through in the interview, but everyone may not have had a chance to read it. Just the ways that you've been able to leverage the Jain community to kind of help you professionally, and even if there's things that you've done outside of the Jain community. I know you talked about some professional support groups and some women's support groups. Maybe you can go into that for anyone out there who's kind of looking for tips and.
Sure, absolutely. I think the first main point, since I've been able to be a part of the community both in Belgium and now I feel like I've become a part of the community out here in the US. And I think there is definitely a strong sense of helping each other out, whether it's professionally or personally. I think that what we have is a strong bond within each other, which I think has definitely helped me. First of all, I would say in my music, the kind of support that I've seen since I've connected with you guys is quite amazing. And I know that wouldn't have happened if we weren't such a tight-knit community. So I think that is something that we can all kind of benefit off of. A few, I think, more specific things. I know you have an article about fasting and how there's 8 days of Pryushan that we see every year. I think that played a big role in defining some of my values. There's a lot of people do fasts and maybe not completely understanding why, and I was one of those people. I did it at quite a young age, and after fasting, I realized how strong willpower is. I was able to do 8 days at a time. And after finishing that, I think I truly proved to myself that if there's anything we really want to do, if there is any goal that we might feel is really far-fetched, there's always a way to do it if you completely set your mind to it. So I think that Jainism has a lot of things that it can teach you, both personally and professionally. If we kind of take all their teachings and put it aside from maybe as a religion and just more as a philosophy, as a way of life, I find that is the best way to pick up great things from it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Really great answer and really good kind of background and advice for us to keep with us as we approach, these YJP activities and events and situations where we're meeting other Jain professionals and kind of how to approach it and take the best advantage of the opportunities that's in front of us. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we just got a question for you through the group chat. And we're almost out of time, so this is probably going to be the last question. Maybe we'll get one more. So for everyone out there listening to the call, if you have a question for Kanika, please send it over in the next couple minutes as she addresses the next one. So again, this question is from Sunny Jain. So Sunny, would you like to, I'll take you off mute. Would you like to share your question?
Yeah, Kanika, firstly, I want to say that you're an incredible singer. We got a chance to hear some of your work at the YJP conference last year, and so truly incredible. One of the questions I had is, could you give us some insight on the creative process when it comes to creating music? Do you ever have writer's block, or do you need something to inspire you? For example, something in real life or something you watch on TV. What kind of inspires you?
That's a dope question. All right, so I think it depends on a lot of different things. Yes, I absolutely do have writer's block from time to time. It's unavoidable. It happens. But I would say for me, creating music is a true expression of how I feel in the moment. I would say I'm a very moody creator. So I like to sit down, I like to explore what mood I'm feeling in the moment, whether it's happy, whether it's excited, whether it's gloomy, whatever it is. I like to lay that out layer by layer, whether it's starting from the beats or is it starting from a cool piano loop that I found. And I love layering things one by one. And then it's all about, you take this out from one section, then you add it to another section, and it develops, and it becomes it becomes like a piece which has things coming in and out. And in the very end is when I kind of start adding my words to it, is when I start adding melodies to it. And it kind of just finds its way together. I'm actually a very, if you've heard, for those who haven't heard my music, I'm a very minimalistic creator, so I like keeping things simple. I like keeping things repetitive and catchy. So I think that's where it translates to the best piece that I can create. Thank you for the question.
Very good. Yeah, great question, and Kanika, great response. So, we're almost at the top of the hour. There's actually 2 more questions for you, Kanika. So I think what I'm going to do is at least just go through some of the closing comments and some of the opportunities that I wanted to make sure everyone on the line could hear from. And then after that, if everyone's able to stay on for a few more minutes, Kanika, you can address the 2 additional questions that came through for you, as well as all the other authors. Sometimes we need a little bit of time to come up with our questions, and so we can definitely have an open discussion for as long as people want to stay on. So again, in the minute or so that we have left, just wanted to share a couple updates for you. So the first is, YJPerspectives is a brand new concept for our community, and we're overwhelmed by the response. And though this is a new idea, we definitely don't have all the ideas and the best ideas out there. So we're really looking to expand our editorial team just to get more people plugged in, engaged, and again, to help kind of bring new ideas to the table so that we can take our next issue to the next level. And so that being said, we're hiring for an associate director of communications, as well as general editorial team members. And the tasks could range from things like planning the content for future issues, the themes and the content, as well as editing, graphic design, and layouts. If you don't have these skills to begin with, it's something new to learn. And if you do have these skills, all the more benefit, to YJP and the team that works on these. And so we're looking for people who can commit at least an hour a week. And again, if you're able to contribute more, you're more than welcome to. So again, 2 opportunities for everyone on the line. And then on the flip side, outside of working on YJPerspectives, the publication itself, we're always looking for content, fresh ideas, fresh perspectives. We hope that those who wrote for us for the first issue are open to kind of coming back and writing for us again. And outside of that, we'd love to hear from new faces too. And so this is a quarterly publication where the submission deadline for a June issue is June 9th. And then for future issues planned this year are on the slide here. And so we're looking for articles, poems, book reviews, similar to what you saw in the first issue, and also looking for ways to kind of explore different angles, 500 to about 1,000 words. So again, if you're interested in these opportunities, email us at communications, and I'll also send the details by email